welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about full coverage long-lasting foundation and basically the steps that I take to make sure that my foundation wears well throughout the entire day or evening if you are going out for an evening, and also making sure that it is full coverage, because for me that's really important. As you can tell, I have hyperpigmentation and I break out, like I have a breakout right here. So I want to make sure that I'm covering all of that, and these are my go-to products and techniques that I use to make sure that my foundation is full coverage and long wearing. So in today's video, that is all we're going to focus on. I'm not going to do any like eye look or anything like that, or really even do any like blush or anything. I just want to focus on the actual foundation itself, and then I might do a little bit of contouring just to show you how I make sure that my contouring and like bronzer lasts all day. So if you want to see how I get full coverage long wearing foundation, then keep watching. So the first step to making sure that your foundation lasts all day is you want to properly prep your skin. So that includes making sure you use your daily serum and your day moisturizer, whatever you typically use, you know, your eye creams. Make sure you put all of that on probably 15 to 20 minutes before you start your makeup. So that means that your skin has had enough time to soak in all of those products, and that way your foundation kind of sinks in a lot easier. It's not going to sit on the surface because you have this like barrier of all this like product built up. That product has had time to sink into your skin. So it just will help make sure your foundation goes on a little bit smoother. It's not gonna like ball up because you have too much product on your face or anything like that. So that is the key to doing your skincare before your makeup, is you wanna give it enough time to soak into your skin. So usually what I do is I'll do my skincare and then I'll like blow dry my hair or something. So then the next thing you want to do, if you're the type of person who likes to use a primer, you're going to use a primer. Now, not everybody likes primers. I know some dry-skinned people don't really like primers. They may like more dewy primers, but for me, I have oily skin, so I want a primer that's going to help sort of soak up any oils, mattify me throughout the day. And also I have like acne prone, larger pores, so I want like a filling primer, one that's going to really like even out all of the patchiness. So the two primers that are my absolute favorite are the Too Faced Hangover RX, and this is the Replenishing Face Primer with coconut water, probiotic-based ingredient, and skin revivers. It says it's silicone free. So I like this because it is silicone free, and it just gives this really nice hydrating feeling to your skin without it feeling like overly saturated. So this is my go-to. I've bought it many times. Then the next primer I use, because this isn't necessarily like a filling primer, is the Prime and Protect Mattifying Primer from Kane & Austin. This is a really great primer. It is a little bit pricey. I think it's like $50 or maybe a little bit more, but you barely need any. This has lasted me such a long time. You just need a tiniest bit. So it's definitely worth the splurge. It keeps my face mattified throughout the day and also fills in that like areas where I feel have more texture and like bigger pores. So that is why I really like this one. Excuse this packaging, it's been through a lot. But I feel like this is the best like pore filling mattifying primer I've ever come across. So it's definitely worth it if you have the cash to spend on it. So like I said, I start out with this primer first, and I'm like almost out, so I'm just gonna try and get the last bit out here, you know. There you go. So this I just put all over my face with one condition. We're not going to put it on the nose currently because I have another tip for that in a few minutes. So you're just gonna concentrate this everywhere but your nose. Then you're gonna go in with this primer, and maybe you have a different pore filling primer you like better. Feel free to use that. But you're just gonna take a tiny bit, and you're just going to place this in the places that you want to have that like filled in look. So for me, that is on my cheeks. Again, I'm not really putting anything on my nose. Next tip I have is one that I found from another YouTuber here, and I don't remember her name, but I will pop her down below, but she definitely talks a lot about oily skin and how to make sure your foundation lasts long and full coverage and all those types of things that I really prefer in my foundation. And this was a tip that she had. I'd never heard of it from anywhere else, and it just kind of intrigued me, so I tried it out and it worked so well. I couldn't believe how well it worked. So I've been using it ever since then, and it's something that is like super simple. So it's a product that most people probably have in their collection, and it's an eye primer. And you would think, I mean, that makes sense. An eye primer really like holds down all of those eyeshadows, so why wouldn't it do the same thing for your foundation? So for me, I suffer from getting like really oily T-zone, and what always happens is my nose area and right here will end up getting really kind of patchy throughout the day. And so in order to stop that, what she suggested was using the Pro Longwear Soft Ochre Paint Pot and applying that on your nose in a very thin layer. And it totally worked. I saw like less and less patchiness on my nose, and it just worked really well. So I'm going to go in with a Morphe brush, and this is synthetic, and for cream products like this you want a synthetic brush. And just taking a little bit, I'm going to put it on the back of my hand to kind of thin it out a little bit. We are going to cover our entire nose area with this product. And I just dab it in. This also works really well as like a cover up, you know, like a concealer, because if you suffer from like redness around here and this area easily kind of wears away throughout the day, this is going to help conceal that area and keep it covered like longer throughout the day. So I really, really love this trick. And while I have a little bit left on my brush, I'm just going to take it over my eyes, because as I'm not going to do like an eye look, but I just want to kind of cover some of that veininess in my eyes. And the key to this is that you don't want to put any primers on the skin where you're like putting this down. It just adheres a little bit better whenever you don't have any of those other primers on your nose. So that's why I kind of avoid that area, and then I just use this product on my nose. So we're gonna go in with our foundation, and for me there's a couple of foundations that I feel like really work well coverage wise and longevity wise, and I will probably link a post that I've done before on foundations that I really love that are long wearing, or I might like redo another one to go coincide with this video. If I do, I'll be sure to link it down below. But right now, the foundation that I'm really loving is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting, and this is the Foundation Plus Concealer. And for me, this one is really good coverage, and it lasts for a really long time. So on a day-to-day basis, I do use this product, and I do feel like it's long wearing and gives me good coverage. But if I'm wanting to amp it up and really give me like full coverage and really long wear, then I use the Estee Lauder Double Wear Camouflage Makeup. And this is the maximum cover one. The writing has kind of rubbed off because I've had this one for a while, and you barely need any of it, and I only use it for days that I really want like full coverage and really long wearing. So I don't use it all the time, but for me this is like my secret weapon if I want that full coverage long wearing look. So today what I'm going to do is use both of these. So what I've found that I like is that sometimes this can be like a little bit too much coverage, like I just feel like I have a mask on. It doesn't feel like a mask because it's very lightweight, but to me it just looks a little bit too much. So what I'll do is I will use this, and then I just will concentrate this like in the center points of my face. They're gonna look at you from face on, and so those are the areas that if you have like really good coverage on, your face is gonna look a little bit more flawless. So what I'm going to do is start out with this, and I use two different shades. I have the shade Golden Neutral, and I think this is number 8. So this is, as you can tell, is much more warm yellow toned, and this one is a much lighter pink kind of undertoned, and this one is in 5 Fair. And when I'm a little bit more tan, I go for this one, and then sometimes when I'm really fair, I'll use this, and then most of the time I kind of use a combination of the two. So today what I'm going to do is just kind of mix these together because I just went to Mexico, so I'm a little bit tanner, not like too tan. I tried to keep the sunscreen on. I didn't want to be all red and sunburned. So I'm just gonna mix a little bit on the back of my hand. I don't have like a mixing plate or anything right now, so the hand will have to do. And I'm using another synthetic Morphe brush, and this is the blending contour buffing brush, I think is what it was called. This one I really like because it has a contour shape, so it really gets into like the crevices of your face. And I really like kind of pounce my makeup into my skin. I'm not really like a huge like buffing person. So that is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting foundation. As you can tell, I feel like it gives really nice coverage, and you could stop here, but if you're wanting a little bit more coverage, which is the point of this video, we're now going to go in with the Estee Lauder Maximum Cover Camouflage makeup, and you just need a tiny bit, so it's like a little squeeze bottle. So I'm just going to squeeze like the tiniest little bit on the back of my hand. Like that right there is all you need, and honestly that's probably more than what I need because this is just really full coverage and it sort of like blends out really easily. So what we're going to do is focus that like in the center area of my face. So I'm just going to put a couple dots, and also if you have areas that you feel like maybe are breaking out and you want a little bit more coverage, so like right here I have a little breakout, so I want to cover there. And then on my nose, I'm going to put a little bit more. But mostly we're just going to focus that on the center of the face. Foundation portion, and now we're going to do our concealer. And two concealers that I really like right now are the Naked Skin and the Tarte Shape Tape. So this is very full coverage and kind of thick. This one is a little bit less coverage, but I like combining them because this one is a little bit light for me, so I just use it in the corners of my eyes, and then I use this like everywhere else. Another concealer I suggest is if you have like darker circles under your eyes, this Bobbi Brown corrector is really great to use because it has a little bit more of a peachy kind of undertones. This one is an extra light peach bisque, but you can also get this in a bunch of different shades that kind of like meet your needs a little better. So this is really great if you suffer from like darker circles. It just really helps cover it, sort of brighten that area up. I'm probably not going to use this today just because I don't feel like I really need it, but this is always a good option if you kind of need that extra coverage of your dark circles. So I'm just going to use these. You're going to apply it in that sort of triangle, upside down triangle. And for me, I also like to run this on the bridge of my nose, kind of up on my forehead and then on my chin and my Cupid's bow. And I take the Shape Tape, and I'm not going to use quite as much as this, so it comes with a lot on your brush. I usually kind of like wipe a little bit of it off. And then I'm just going to concentrate this on the inner corners where my eye is. And also I kind of just add a little bit of this down my nose. Kind of acts a little bit as like a highlight too, because it's so much lighter. So now I will say, if you really want your concealer to stick down, I would let it dry a little bit, just so it's a little bit tackier, not like fully dried down, but a lot of times if you just let it sit for a little bit before you blend it out, then it just gives you a little bit more coverage and it helps it last a little bit longer. I don't know why it does that, but to me it just does. I will say with this Shape Tape concealer, I can't let it sit quite as long and still be able to blend it out well as other concealers. This one just dries kind of a little too fast, and when it is dry, it's a little bit harder to blend out. So I usually will just let it sit for a second or two before I go in with my Beauty Blender. So I like to use a Beauty Blender. I actually need to go wet this, so I'm going to do that real quick. But you can use anything else really that you like. Some people prefer brushes. I prefer a Beauty Blender. I've tried other sponges, but really this one is my favorite. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go wet it right now, and I will be right back. So I've wet my sponge. Now I'm going to blend out my concealer. So I just start underneath my eyes, just bounce it, blend it out. And then you really want to set that under eye area pretty quickly because you don't want it to crease. So what I do is I use the Laura Mercier setting powder, and this is the, what is it, translucent? Yeah. And I use my Beauty Blender to set that. So first what I do is I just make sure that that doesn't have any like creases already. Just blend it out really nicely, and then go in with the powder and set that area. And you don't necessarily need to do like a full baking at this point. You just want to get an initial sort of setting of that area. You can do like your eyelid too. You just want to set all of that concealer you just put down with a little bit of powder. That's kind of like the main foundation. We're gonna do a couple more steps, but I wanted to show you first how I a lot of times will contour when I really want it to last a long time, and I will use both the cream and then a powder, because when you use the two together it just kind of locks it down and makes it last a little bit longer. So I like the Chanel Soleil Tan de Chanel Bronzer Universal, a cream to powder formula. So with this, you kind of want to use a synthetic brush. So this is a Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. And I just go in with this product in the contours of my cheek. And you don't want to set down like your full face yet, just because you're going to use this cream product and you don't really want to put cream on top of your powder. It just ends up not looking as great sometimes. You really have to blend it out. So I also like to take this kind of along the jawline. Usually bring it down just a little bit to add a little bit more color. And really just blend this out. I really love this product during the summertime because it's just a little bit warmer, so it gives you that little bit of glow. We're just doing the same thing on this side. Once you've blended out that cream contour, you're going to go over it with a powder. And right now the powder that I'm really liking is this one from Benefit, and it is their Hoola bronzer. So this one I like for contouring because it just has a little bit more of a cool tone to it. So I think it's really great for that. I'm going to take a little bit of that, and I have the actual brush, so I find that this brush actually does work pretty well, and I have it in front of me, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm just going to put a little bit on here, and honestly, I think this does work well because it's like a good shape to give you that contour. So if not, you can also use a brush. This is like a contour brush you could use. You could use something like this and just focus it in that area. I mean, there's multiple options for how you want to apply your contour. Really, you just want to keep it in this area. And I always put a little bit on my forehead. I focus more towards the back, and then, you know, you kind of blend it. And then again, kind of run it lightly over my chin area. And then I will even take this down my nose. So I will just lightly contour my nose. Usually we'll do a little bit across the bridge. So during the summer months, a lot of times I'll also just go in with an actual bronzer and sort of bronze up my face a little bit. And so I'll just take a little bit of this medium face and body bronzer from Bobbi Brown and a big fluffy brush. And I'm just going to apply just a little bit on my temple area, and then a little bit on my cheekbones just to give more of like a bronze look. Once I've done the contour and a little bit of bronzing, if I feel like it, I go in with an actual powder foundation. So I don't always do this, but like I said, for this video, we're doing something that is full coverage and long lasting, and it's getting hotter outside. And so for me, this becomes more of a regular in the summer months because my face just gets really oily quickly. And so setting your foundation with a foundation powder will just give it that extra sort of hold throughout the day. This is the IT Cosmetics Celebration Foundation in light medium, and I have used their Celebration Foundation Illumination as well, and I actually kind of prefer it a little more than this one, but right now this is what I have, so this is what we're going to use. You could also use something like the MAC powder foundation or any other kind of powder that you have that might have a little bit more coverage to it. So if you don't want a lot of extra coverage, you can go back in with your translucent powder and sort of do this area here, or you can use like a natural skin finish from MAC or something of that nature and just really like lightly set the rest of your foundation. The whole point is that you want to set all of that liquid that you put on your face. So for me, I want a little bit extra coverage and hold, so I'm going to use a foundation powder. And another thing that we're going to do before I do that is I'm going to go back in underneath my eye area and just like kind of bake it down a little bit more heavily. So we're taking that translucent powder on our beauty blender again, and we're going to go back over it and just apply a lot more powder in that like under eye area, like right there. And letting this sit for a few minutes is going to also help to make sure that that foundation and concealer sits like all day without budging. So we're just going to put in a little bit more underneath our eyes. But the foundation powder, I'm just using this brush, which I think is like a powder brush or a blush brush, I don't know. But just something that isn't going to give like a super full application. Like you don't want a buffing brush or something, you just want something that's light, that's going to set it down. And you don't want to like heavily, you know, work it onto the face because you don't want to wipe away everything that you already applied. So you're just going to go in, get like some good amount of product on your brush, and then you're just going to apply it and clean up that area as well. You know, it's going to clean up that contour Usually I'll apply a little bit here to set this area down as well. So you're just giving a little bit more setting to all that liquid that you put on your face. So while I let this area sit a little bit longer, I'm going to apply my eyebrows so I don't look like totally weird at the end of this video. So I'm going to do that real quick and then we'll cut back. Okay, so my eyebrows are on right now, and the last step is just to wipe away all of that powder. So I usually take a flat sort of foundation brush and just swipe it down like really gently off. You don't want to disrupt any of the concealer and other products that you've put on your face, so I just very lightly dust it away. And that is basically how I get my full coverage long wearing foundation look. This is like the base for my long wearing foundation routine. So I hope that you learned some tips and tricks from this video, and let me know down in the comments if you've ever tried any of these tips before, or if you have tips of your own that help make sure your foundation wears for a long time, or if you just know of products that work really well for like oily skin or even dry skin. You know, just share all of that down in the comments. I love to hear from you all. This is the final look after I did my eyes, but I just wanted you to see that it's very full coverage. Once you add in your blush and more bronzer, it just all looks very like seamless together, and this is just how I do my full coverage long wearing foundation. So I just wanted to put a shot in here of what the full face looks like with some eyeshadow and like your regular makeup once it's all done. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye!